Hi, I'm Andy Acton.
And I'm Chris Strevens.
This is Dentology, the Business of Dentistry podcast. When you chat to somebody who's a true entrepreneur, like somebody who just jumps around different markets, different sectors, sees an opportunity and just go with it, it really lifts your spirits, doesn't it?
I think it's that thing, is it? You know, guys listening, when they listen to the episode, you know, I spotted an opportunity queuing it for a supermarket. I mean, that's how many other people would one spot the opportunity, but two actually do something about it.
Yeah,
and that's an entrepreneur.
And I think when people listen to this episode, they'll realise the power of taking action. It's very easy to go on courses, watch YouTube, take notes, create lists, have big ideas. But as Steve shows, it's the taking action that moves you forward. And I hope that from listening to this episode, people will go back to their plans and be like, right, actually, yeah, let's crack on and do it.
Well, there's that slide we show, isn't it? It's like the pain of procrastination. And I noticed that it just looks like a big spot.
Yeah.
And the more you don't do anything,
the worse
the
it
bigger
gets.
the spot gets.
The worse it
and
gets.
you need to pop it.
Yeah.
By either doing something, but making a decision.
Absolutely. No, really, really good episode.
No, it's brilliant.
You're very welcome to join us if you're a new listener. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been here before, you know what to expect. If you could review us or share an episode with somebody you know, that would be amazing, because the more people we can get to, the better. Into the episode.
Thank you.
So if I said to you, Chris, it was Monday morning and it was 7:00, what would that mean?
I think that would probably mean a release of a Dentology podcast, I would say.
Absolutely would. It absolutely would. And I love the fact that because it's the business of dentistry, we speak to people from all different elements and facets of this great profession. And today, we've got an absolutely stunning guest joining us. We've got Steve Kettle, who's a director of Clover Dental Fit Out, which we'll find out more about as we have a conversation. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Brilliant.
Hi. Yes. Afternoon, Andy. Afternoon, Chris.
Lovely. Like that chance to put a very bad joke in here that we've got the kettle on.
Yeah.
I bet you've never heard that joke before, Steve.
When I was at school, Polly put the kettle on, yeah.
Talking about being at school, Steve, lovely segue that. Thank you. I appreciate it. We always like to start right back at the beginning and kind of start with a walk down memory lane. And could you talk to us about your own childhood and what your upbringing was like and how your parents set you up for the man you've become today?
Yeah. I lived in Sale in Cheshire. Mum and Dad were very organised people. Planned everything out to a fine degree. Dad was a civil servant. My mum was, in those days, was what they called a shorthand typist for the local authority.
Shorthand typist, yeah.
So she could and I think people still do shorthand journalists. I don't know, but it was something.
What was the famous shorthand? What was it called? Can't remember now. They used to have special training, didn't you? I can't remember what it was called. It was unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, she was very good at shorthand. She could write, things off the television and just jot it all down in shorthand.
Wow.
It was a good upbringing. Got a brother, Martin. We were a very close family. Had some, nice holidays together. Looked after me well. I was always smartly turned out, was the saying. So, it was, as a boy, you're like, oh, Mum, stop fussing. But no, we were always presentation.
Were you the sort of family that had special outfits to wear on Christmas Day?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And, we're very, very, very house proud, Mum and Dad. The house was immaculate. My dad, looked after the garden, planned it months and months in advance where all the flowers were going to go and drew it all out. And two very, very well organised people and planned things to perfection. And so that really rubbed off on me. My dad would get petrol and he'd write down the mileage and check it against, his previous fill up when he filled the tank up just to see if the car was performing okay. Always getting
Wow. One of my friends' dad used to do that. Work out your miles per gallon, wasn't it?
Miles per gallon. He had a book and we used to fill up and, Dad, what are you doing? I'm just filling in, checking how many miles per gallon I've done, I managed to do. Yeah, so very meticulously organised, filing systems. Still to this day, he's 87 now. He's got everything planned off to a T. Where everything is. When I pop my clogs, everything is documented. You won't have to do anything. So yeah, and that's kind of laid the foundations for me to be that type of person that's organised.
And it's interesting you say about kind of that planning and stuff, because obviously your world is building the maintenance environment. That was what you were in for 25 years. I guess that set you up well for that. How did you end up in the dental niche? Because I'm interested, because you were obviously in building maintenance, that world for 25 years. But what was that kind of entry point that made you turn up in dentistry?
Yeah. So I ran a building maintenance company for 25 years. It's fairly stressful because I have over 100 tradesmen working for me. So in my mid-40s, I sort of got out of that. I had a partner, and he took it over. And the bit that I liked was really the marketing side of things, not so much the operational. So the sales and marketing side. And I basically... through my local sports club, which I'm still a member of, met Paul Tipton, and our boys played cricket together as juniors. So really, that was my sort of first introduction into the dental world. And then also another member of that club was a gentleman who had a compressor business called Dental Air, and so I started doing.
Paul Tipton is not a bad person. He's incredibly well known, as you would now know. He's incredibly well known across dentistry. So that's a pretty good entry point.
Yeah, and I started doing sort of stuff with Paul outside his core business, so like special projects and things. And before COVID, I started doing his road shows, Tipton training road shows, so organising for Paul to go around the country and do his one-day lectures. So I'd find the venues for him and talk to sponsors and get them on board and run the day really for him. So yeah, that was kind of when I really sort of broke into dentistry through the Tipton training roadshows.
And when was that, Steve?
That'd be like 2000 and before COVID, 2018.
Oh, right, yeah, that's
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you set up Clover Dental Fit Out in 2021, which is obviously just on the back of COVID. Was that a great time to do it or a tough time to do it? Because I think dentistry was going through quite a nice period as we came out of COVID.
Well, what happened was I was also I had my own events business before COVID as well, doing lots of corporate events and seminars and conferences and sporting dinners. And when it's sort of everything closed down, I thinking what else can we do? So we actually through Tipton Training we did the Kickstart scheme that Rishi Sunak announced, so getting young people into jobs who were on universal credit. So I basically headed that up, and we started placing young people into dental practices, mainly social media, even receptionists, because you had the airline industry that had grinded to a halt. And we got sort of people who were in the airline industry said, I quite fancy a change here now. I could do a receptionist job at a dental surgery. So we actually placed about 100, I think it was about 126 young people into dental surgeries during COVID.
That's brilliant.
So that was a project. But then another project that I had was that we, just near where I live, I saw an empty building that was a hairdresser's. And it was a really nice location. It was next to a Waitrose store. And as you know, everyone was queuing up for the shopping and, you go 3 in at a time, 3 out and that sort of thing. And I kept passing this empty shop thinking this would be really good as a dental surgery. So actually got in touch with Paul and said, do you want to come down and have a look at it? What do you think? And he said, yeah, I think it'd be really good as a dental practice. So that was really the journey. I got in touch with the agent and we sort of looked at seeing whether it was going to be feasible to run as a dental practice. And Yeah, and it sort of everyone was happy to go forward with it. So negotiated the heads of terms with the agent, and then basically once the lease was signed, I brought in a team of builders who hadn't actually done dental before, but we kind of learnt on the job with it. So that was my first squat practice, and while I was doing it, I thought I'll set up a website and set up a company. So that was how it sort of was born, really. Just started that first job. Yeah. It was a learning curve for me, but because I'd been in the building trade, I'd gone back to where I was before. I worked with Martin, the builder, and his team, and also got a lot of help from people in the industry. The likes of Pete Hickson at RPA has been tremendously helpful. He used to come down once a week, making sure that we were doing everything in line with the CQC regulations. So it was about 12-week project, and we opened it up, and it's running now and thriving. So yeah.
Brilliant. I think the fascinating juxtaposition is that we've got loads of dentists who aspire to set up their own dental practice and never actually get to the point of doing it.
Yeah.
And then we've got Steve, who happens to be walking past Waitrose a few times, who then says, yeah, I think that's a really good opportunity. Paul, what do you reckon? Right, we're going to do it. It's amazing, isn't it? That almost... It's the business hat that you have from your other businesses that sort of almost said, yeah, I can do this, as opposed to maybe thinking too much about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I
think it's taking action, isn't it? It's
not prevaricating.
I mean, there's so many people out there that spend all the time planning and thinking and writing notes. You saw it and did it, and that's the significant difference. You took action.
Yeah, well, one thing going back to my childhood, it rings in my ear every day. My dad used to say, "Procrastination is the thief of time. Just get on with it."
Yeah. And it's so true.
Yeah,
so
you're
true.
like thinking about it, and then you're going round and round, aren't you? Before you do. I mean,
what are the differences you've seen, Steve, in dentistry? You've obviously spent a lot of time in general building on the general business side of things. Are there some distinct differences on the dental side from general business?
From general building, or business.
On like the general building side of things compared to and non-dental businesses compared to dental. I mean, there's obviously the specific equipment that they need, but do they broadly just behave like buildings and businesses, just with a little tweak, or is it quite a different way of approaching it?
No, I mean it's there's so many things you've got to take into consideration when you're fitting out a dental surgery. You've got to make sure that you've got all your building control documents signed off, and you've got to get fire approval. Often the surgery needs ventilation. There's a certain flow that you have to fit it out in, and all that gets checked by the CQC at the end. So really, my recommendation to any dentist that's looking to start a new squat practice is go to a company, a contractor, a builder that's done dental work before. I mean, I know I hadn't as my first one, because you don't want to get to the end of it and find out that it's not fitted out right. The CQC said that's got to be ripped out. So it's very niche and very specific, really. So a general builder, there's a lot of general building work in there, but there's a lot that are specific requirements to ensure CQC approval.
Sure.
Do you find people get? I don't really get that much involved with squat practices, but I can always remember when I used to fund years and years ago doctors when they sort of built new surgeries. They were fine until they started to get a bit excited, and then they'd say, "Oh, could we add this and could we do this?" And do you end up with? Are they pretty good at staying to their budget, or do they sort of just say to you, "Oh, actually, Steve, I'd quite like to add this"? So is there always sort of a 10% contingency that you put in because you know that they're gonna add extras?
Yeah. I mean, the way we do it is we do a proper scope of work. So it's not sort of fit out the decon room or whatever. It's actually itemized by how many sockets, pipe work, etc. So they actually got cost certainty of what it's going to be because you've got a fully priced schedule. And then into that is, as you say, Chris, is you put in a 10% contingency because you don't know what you're going to find, and you've got that in the bank if you need it. So you pretty much know exactly what it's going to cost them, and it may be another additional 10% for unforeseen things that come up that you don't know about.
Coming out of COVID, we had lots of conversations with people who were talking about setting up squats, de novo practices. Many of them didn't, but some of them did. Is the startup practice side of things for you a big part of your business? Is it people with an idea? And if it is, do those people come to you with a location, or do they just come to you with the idea and then it kind of gets built out from there?
Yeah, it's a range of different things, really. I mean, this week I've had a call from a gentleman who's found a building, a dentist. I found the building, but I'm not sure if it's going to work. I'm looking to buy it. I'm not sure if it values up at what they're asking for it, and I don't actually know if it'll work as a dental surgery. So we're going in on Thursday. So we're going to have a look at it, assess it, make sure that it's going to work. Is the drainage in the right place? Is the floor going to have to be raised? There's a lot of things that feasibility basically before they actually buy it. And then I get dentists coming to me all the time with saying, we'd like to set up a squat practice. It needs to be in this location, maybe 15 miles from where I'm operating now, and we help them find that property.
I was going to ask if you do the sourcing of the
So I've got contact with most of the agents around, national agents and local agents around the country. We also have some software that we subscribe to it's quite expensive, but it basically it sends an email to us and an alert if any properties are due to come on the market. So we offer this property search facility to dentists. And it can be quite time consuming, but we get the brief off them, what they're looking for. Lots of dental surgeries now like being in the fabric of the high street, next to a Costa Coffee, next to a...
That's right, yeah.
Where
footfall is,
Footfall. It's footfall on the eyeballs, isn't it, if you get in those situations.
And do you help with the planning, Steve? So do you sort of, not just I don't mean building planning, but do you help with the financials, like year 1, year 2, year 3 projections, or is that not your bag?
No, not really. I've got a network of dental professionals that I can pass on to the dentist. So if they want an accountant, we have an accountant that looks after, I think, over 200 dental practices. So what I do is I just widen my network open to the dentist. Say, look, I can help you with literally everything. If you want someone to raise finance for the practice, we've got somebody that can do that we've worked for many years. Or the last few years anyway. So it's literally like I suppose a consultancy type approach as well.
Yeah.
I'll open up my network and put them in touch with whoever they need to do. They need to talk to.
And going back to the property side of things, Steve, is there an optimal blueprint? Is it kind of 3 surgeries, fit one surgery out, plumb and wire the others, and then go from there? Is there, if you were talking to somebody, would you say this is kind of the perfect place to start? It's affordable, it's manageable, it'll turn into a good business, and you're not going to overextend yourself.
Yeah. I mean, generally they work out on the sort of 2,500 square foot. Most of our practices get 1 surgery and 1 chair up and running, and then we put all the services and everything in ready for the other 2 if it's 3 surgeries.
So it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, just drop the chair in and the cabinetry after. And when they built up the patient book, then they can go to the second one and then the third one. But obviously you still have to, you've got to have your disabled toilet facility. You need you'll need a decon room, whether you've got 1 surgery or 3 surgeries. So yeah, it's because, it takes a little bit of time to build it up. And your first 12 months, you're working really hard to get your patients up and get it filled. Yeah.
Thinking back to the one that you did with Paul back next to Waitrose, using that experience, which is your first one, what would you say are the three most important things for any dentist that was thinking about setting up a squat practice? What boxes do they have to put ticks in before they can go any further?
Well, I think that once you've decided that you're going to go forward with a property, and the minute you've either bought it or signed the lease on it, is for you to register with the CQC, because that seems to be the sort of, the bit that can
16 weeks right there.
Takes forever, yeah.
It could be, I don't know what it can be, 4 months, 5 months, it changes, but you've got to get that sort of application in first, and that gets the ball rolling. And then I think, again, it's sort of planning, your marketing and things like that, rather than getting within 2 weeks of opening and saying, I'll start doing some marketing.
I'm here.
Get all that in place, get your social media moving through, talk to local people. The one that we did, that was just speaking about there, My New Smile, we had a big sign in the window. The builders were working inside, but coming soon, opening in the new year. Register your interest now. So, start making a noise about it early, so that people can see what's happening, because people are curious, wonder what that's going to be. Oh, it's going to be a dentist. And, and even the old fashioned dropping the leaflet drops. We did 5,000 leaflets within a mile of where the surgery was opening. And we got a lot of inquiries just from the leaflet drop, register your interest. But again, your Instagram, all that sort of stuff. So I would just say definitely CQC and marketing are the two big ones, really.
Yeah, it's interesting, the marketing thing, isn't it? Because so many people nowadays try and shy away from the hard copy stuff. You go, it's all on Instagram, and we say to people, no, there's so many people who still read a leaflet.
You do, or just it doesn't cost a lot to put an A board outside. You can do that. We found that people were coming to Waitrose, and I saw them park up, going for the shopping, pointing at the A board. Oh, look, Joanne. Oh, there's a dental surgery opening up in the new year. And so you've got to do a bit of everything, really.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I was going to say, at least that way round, you tap into all demographics. I mean, at times changing, but typically kind of digital marketing appeals to slightly younger people. But like you say, if you do a leaflet drop or you do letters, we know if something comes through our letterbox, we look at it. The open rate or the read rate of things that come through your letterbox is very high. Whereas with emails, we all get thousands of emails that we never look at or read. So I think you cover off a broad range of demographics by having a variety of different things in your war chest.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, my parents wouldn't open an email or anything. They'd still look at a leaflet and still look at a sign outside somewhere. So yeah, I mean, that seemed to work. I mean, the other thing as well is that if you can start to bring in, obviously, children into the practice, we went around the local schools, to be honest, and I just went to see, there was 3 or 4 schools quite near the surgery, and I just said, would it be possible to come in and give a little talk after assembly on healthy teeth, how to look after your teeth? And so, yes, we can do that. So we got the dentists who we'd recruited to come in and do a talk, for half an hour after assembly. And with the permission of the headmaster or headmistress, we were allowed to put leaflets in the satchels of the children to take home. So it was just
creative marketing.
Yeah, just awareness, when they go home at night, mum and daddy, there's a new surgery opening up. They've been in today and had a talk.
But they're clever as well. Those things aren't particularly expensive. It's being creative and also investing a little bit of time in your local community.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. It's not just spending money.
No. And I mean, the other thing is, we did an interview, or Paul did, with a local publication. It's the local one for our area, Altrincham Today, and there was a feature there. Paul Tipton opens up a new clinic in Altrincham, squat practice, and that's, again, people still read those sort of things, and it
creates visibility, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, which is great. Just using your experience of what you see from your perspective in the Far East and the US, quite a lot of the practice out there are these like super clinics. They've got like 20 plus surgeries. Do you see a place for that in UK dentistry? Has anybody approached you to look to do something on a very large scale?
No, but it's done a lot, isn't it? I was talking to someone this week who said it's the same in Portugal and France and places like that. So, I think it's coming, but I haven't had anybody approach me. I mean, the ones that seem to be becoming quite popular now are actually where they're in a, like an empty office accommodation. So I went to look at, we got hold of one for a dentist a few weeks ago where the top floor was had a company in it who were paying I think it was about 40 grand a year rent, and then the bottom section they were thinking of turning that into a surgery, and it's on a commercial building development. It's nowhere near the high street, but there's parking and everything like that. So there's quite a few dentists doing that now. Where they're not visual, it's all office blocks, but they're putting themselves in there. But super clinics, I've not personally come across anybody asking me to do that as yet.
No, I've not seen it either. But like I say, I know that, like I say, in the Far East and the US, I know there's some practices in the US that have like literally 40, 50 surgeries. And it's truly remarkable, the scale of them.
Dentistry.
Whereas I think over
Industrial.
here, so obviously in kind of another world, we value and sell dental practices. So as a company, we visit hundreds a year. Most of them are, 2, 3, 4 surgeries. That captures the majority of what we see. Anything upwards of 5 surgeries would fall in the category of being a large practice. But I don't think we've ever seen anything with more than probably 9 or 10 surgeries.
No, I haven't seen
not I can think of.
It's interesting the way that different markets operate in terms of where they are.
Yeah.
From you many years ago now, through your own business life, you got involved in something called Flying Start, didn't you? Which sounded interesting. I read up about it, and it sounded a bit like a forerunner to Dragon's Den. Would that be a fair description?
Yeah, it was. It was a long time ago.
What was that about?
Well, it was run by a guy called Tony Wilson. He was a reporter on our local Granada reports here, but he also he also had nightclubs, the Hacienda and things like that. And basically the idea was that it'd be a panel of business people. So I think one of them was John Maunders, was a house developer. He was on the sort of the panel. And the way the program worked, there was 4 contestants on each program. The first bit is they went out and videoed your business just to show, the viewers what you do. So at the time I was running a building maintenance company. So it was a film that they filmed out with our guys, fitting new doors and radiators and things like that. And then basically you're then sort of brought into the studio, a bit like Mastermind, actually. You're in the hot seat, and there's questions that are fired at you from 4 judges. It's actually you don't get a lot of time to, if you make, they've got a window that it has to be recorded in. And so there's no retakes. It is what it is when you do it like we're doing now. So it was it was a bit daunting, actually. I thought, we might be able to edit bits out, but it's right, we're off and that's it. And we go. And so I actually came second in that heat. I didn't win it, but I came second.
Oh.
And
what was the draw to doing this, Steve? You strike me as a very entrepreneurial guy. You kind of do building maintenance. I've got an events business. I'm really into marketing. I've now got a dental fit out business. And I went, and this was kind of back in the like late 90s, wasn't it? So again, when people now see Dragon's Den and lots of reality TV today, but this was something that was like 25, 30 years ago. What was the draw for you to get involved in it back then?
Well, what you got basically, when I put in the application, and then I was successful getting to sort of the interview stage, and what you got was sort of before the program. Part of the deal was that they all these different people on the panel helped you with different aspects of business. So it might be financial, it might be marketing, and they actually came to your offices and help you to grow your business. So there's some real sort of advantages before the actual program of people who, you know, had been successful coming to help you. So, and I just thought it would elevate, you know, the brand and everything like that. And it was just, I'm, you know, reasonably sort of driven guy, and I thought this would be a good thing to do, get myself on the TV just before Coronation Street as well. So I knew there'd be a lot of viewers.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Yeah, so yeah, I got a lot of people that I knew sort of phoning me and sending me, you know, texts and letters. And, yeah, it was a good experience. You know.
Very front foot.
Yeah. And based on your own quite varied experience, and you know, there's a bunch of it in dentistry, but some of it not. What would you say? A lot of people that listen to this podcast are younger dentists who at some point have the aspiration of owning or running their own dental practice.
Who have no idea what shorthand is.
No. They assume it's some physical disability. Yeah. And we also have lots of practice owners. But what would you say are the key skills you require to be an entrepreneur?
Okay, yeah. Well, you've got to be you've got to be very driven, and you've got to really put the time and effort into it. You know, you've got to, you know, I mean, I sort of live and breathe business still, and I think it's built in you, isn't it? You know, to hard work, keep going. You know, don't give up. You know, there's a lot of situations when you're running your own business, you think, God, this is tough. You know, but you've just got to keep going, keep pushing through, and you know, try and plan things as best as you can. But it's a lot of it is energy, enthusiasm, you know, knowledge, all those sort of things. And it's not 9 to 5 at all. It's you know, I mean, most nights I'm coming back at 8 o'clock. I've got 2 meetings tonight, 6:30 and 7:30 on Zoom. So it really is, you know, it's hard work, and just keeping going, keeping positive as well, keeping positive.
And I think also, because it is hard work, finding something you really enjoy and you care about carries you through as well, doesn't it?
Well, it's yours. So if you're not passionate about it, then if you've got staff, that's, you know, if they see you're passionate, it sort of, you know, it funnels down to them as well. So
it rubs off, doesn't it?
Yeah, and be enthusiastic about it. You know, it's your business, and you know, and you really, you know, you need to shout about it and try and make it work.
Absolutely. Steve, we can't let you go without asking you 2 questions to finish up with. Yeah. So our first question for you is, if you could be a fly on the wall in a situation, where would you be and who would be there?
You know, I thought about this morning, and I was thinking, you know, with what's been going on with the elections in America, I mean, whatever they think about Donald Trump, I mean, it's been interesting, hasn't it, watching it all unfold. For sure. And, he's a real character. So for me, I just think, you know, the way it is at the moment, whether you could be a fly on the wall with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin meeting up, you know, first meeting. I just think that's going to be a really interesting one, that, for me. It will. So yeah, because I'm a football fan and I follow Man United, which is a bit of an up and down thing at the moment.
We're having a hard time at the moment.
Oh yeah, but you know, someone like maybe, you know, an Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, you know, interview would be interesting to hear those 2 guys in the same room.
It would. And if you got the chance, and if you got the chance to meet somebody, Steve, who would you like the opportunity to sit down and have a pint of mild or a cup of coffee with?
Living or dead?
Yeah.
Well, didn't have to think much about that. Great, again, a football person, but Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona.
The seagulls follow the trawler.
Yeah, the seagulls follow the trawler. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, just a fantastic footballer, but also, you know, just so many different strings to his bow, hasn't he? I think he's singing. I had a single out a few weeks ago, acting. Yeah.
I love seeing him in the adverts, because he appears quite often on TV in the adverts. The beer advert. Yeah.
He's a real maverick, a real eccentric, isn't he?
Yeah, and I don't. When I get time, I just can put it on YouTube and watch some of his goals. Charismatic guy. Really loved at Old Trafford. They still sing his songs about him. So, yeah, Eric Cantona for me.
Fabulous.
Excellent.
Lovely, Steve. We know you've got a busy day ahead. We'll
Thank you for your time.
We'll let you get away. That was really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, useful. Thank you,
hopefully
man.
we'll catch up at either one of your events or a dental event at some point in the
Porsche
future.
dealership somewhere.
Exactly.
Dealership, yeah. That's where I was last week in South London.
Brilliant.
Beautiful, yeah. Okay,
Lovely.
good to speak.
Cheers,
Thank you
Steve.
very
Look
much
after yourself.
for
That
your
was
time.
really good fun. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.